So I'm just out checking the sheep, and we have this little set aside of grass that we've been growing, and the plan was to make silage, but after checking my contract, not actually allowed to cut it. So we're just going to graze it. But I thought I'd show you basically the natural flora. Here's a wee bumblebee, and it's on a clover here. Away it goes to find another flower to land on. It's not going to get bothered. There's two there. That's a solitary wasp on that buttercup that was landing there. So I thought I would just take a moment to show you. Now, if you were driving by on the A7 here, and you were to look at this land, you would think it's just grass, and you'd think it's not very good for wildlife. It's just growing sheep. What a waste of land. But what you maybe don't know is that actually, if you were to get down and have a look in this grass field, it's not certified organic, but there's nothing being sprayed on this in years. There's no chemicals being added. It's just grass that's grazed and allowed to regrow. Simple as that. And if you were to look at this and get in, you see all sorts of different things. This is plantain growing. This is clover, red clover next to white clover. This is fantastic for honeybees. This is a fantastic plant for Scotland and sheep, because it's great for sheep to graze. But basically, honeybees can't get into this, where a butterfly and a bumblebee can, because you can see the tubular flower vessels are longer, and they're too long for a honeybee. A honeybee's tongue is not long enough to reach down to the nectar, whereas a bumblebee's tongue can stretch all the way down, and a butterfly can. So red clover is a fantastic thing to have growing for natural pollinators, for native pollinators. Honeybees are actually, depending how far back in history you go, they're actually invasive, and they outcompete native species, solitary wasps, bumblebees, butterflies. They outcompete them. So it's good to have a mix of flowers. You obviously got buttercup, which is somewhat good for pollinators. So what looks like grass when you get down is actually fantastic for the local wildlife. And additionally, what a lot of people don't know is that green grass sequests carbon. So what happens, especially with long grass like this is really good for the environment, because when a sheep comes to graze it, or a cow or a horse or whatever, it tramples the long grass in, it pushes the long grass into the soil, which then rots and is trapped by soil. So in order to capture carbon, it's not what's growing on top of the soil. So for example, this forest, that is undeniably a lot of carbon. That's a lot of mass in all of that section of forest that's going right the way up there. But that's not been captured because it's still living. So when that dies, it'll fall down, or it'll be harvested and it'll be burnt somewhere for biomass fuel. It's not captured carbon, it's just carbon that's living, just like I am. I am a carbon being. I'm just like that tree in the sense that I'm carbon above the ground. I'm not captured when I die. Interestingly, if we're buried whole, then we are captured carbon because we're underneath the ground, and our bodies can't release into the environment. That carbon is then trapped just like a lump of coal or petrol. So this beautiful flora is not only good for native species of pollinators, which some trees are, but this time of year there's nothing on these trees for pollinators. If you actually stand back, you see the butterflies flying. This is alive and teeming with wildlife. It's also sequestering carbon into the soil. Now, the rates at which this will sequester carbon is actually more than a forest. And that's this kind of surprise stat that people don't know. People think that a forest is sequestering more carbon. And in order for that to be true, you need to bury the trees in the ground. Grasslands that are being grazed and not ploughed are actually trapping more carbon in the soil than than trees are, than forestry activity is. So that leads me with the wonderful thing where you go, well, I can be here, I can produce sheep like that with hardly any chemical involvement at all. They get a worm dose now and then on land that's got no chemical additives, that's also good for pollinators and is sequestering carbon. We need this information to be getting out there to people that are in, keyboard warriors in offices somewhere that are trying to convince us that the problem is farming. The problem isn't getting on a Jet 2 flight and going to France 3 times a year. That the problem isn't us all driving vehicles all the time to get here, there and everywhere. That the problem isn't, producing mass loads, that'll do, Gigi, that mass loads of chemical products that we throw in the bin the next day. They like to convince us that the problem is somehow this green, beautiful landscape that's producing our food. And not only that, they're trying to convince us that one of the most incredible food products in the year. There's a fantastic independent study that asked the question: what's the best carbon products to grow in Scotland? What's the 2 best? Oats was the number 1, and then the second to oats, it was sheep. So if you want a fantastic product that's good for the environment, it's good for your bodies, sheep, lamb, mutton is a fantastic product for us to be consuming. We need this information to go out there. Thank you.